Thank you all. Very quickly, I think thanks to the organizers, and I think a big kudos to all of you to turn up on Cyberport Island in some sense on a Sunday morning. My name is Mushir Ahmed. I'm the general manager of and founding board of director of the FinTech Association of Hong Kong. I'm also co-founder of a community known as India Tech Hong Kong, connecting Indian startups to China and Hong Kong. With us, we have a distinguished panel. Spoken with Chia on many, but I'll let each of you do a very good, quick introduction. You can mention about where you're from and what your organization does very quickly.
Okay, thank you for introductions. I'm Kohei. I'm taking charge of Government Blockchain Association, Tokyo Chapter Leadership. We association is focusing on to create a global community to empower the public sectors to deploy the blockchain technology itself. What I'm doing in Tokyo is just having the meetups, so community making. Then by the various sectors, people is coming to have a discussion what the blockchain could be used in the public sectors to solve any social problem, the economic problem. We have it.
Okay, I'm Kyle. I'm the president of the Hong Kong Blockchain Association. Just like many other associations, our purpose is really to make connections. We connect like people who are interested in technology, who are interested in cryptos. We do events we do events on a monthly basis. So we invite startups to come to talk to us, talk to our members, to let people know what they're doing. Also, another thing that we are very emphasized, we already pay a lot of attention is education. I think Hong Kong is quite, I think it's quite unique in the sense that if you go to any, like in the past, like a year ago, if you go to most of the crypto events in Hong Kong, they're mostly attended by expatriates. Okay, so we have people from Europe, from India, and from US. So I think one of the things we try to do is that we really promote the blockchain technology, the cryptos community in the mass market. So we run a lot of education talks, what is Bitcoin, how do you store them, how do you do wallets. So I think one of the things our focus is about education. Okay.
Hi, my name is Hock Lai. I'm the president of the Singapore FinTech Association. Singapore FinTech Association is a non-profit and cross-industry organization set up to support the growth of the FinTech sector in Singapore. As you know that Singapore, like Hong Kong, is one of the top global financial center. And if you look at the top global financial center, they have very strong FinTech sector, which is why sometimes I sit in the same panel as Mushir. And FinTech is really an important sector for Singapore, and for the association, they play an important role to be a grassroots movement to build the community, to drive the FinTech agenda forward. I myself, I'm also the advisor for a number of tech startups, and quite a number of them also do their ICO. So I get to experience how the ICO community management is quite different from FinTech. So I hope to be able to share more later. Thank you.
Hi again. I guess I've already talked a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Faraz. On the FinTech Association. Test. Can you hear me? Test. Can everyone? Okay, try to use my voice. Okay. With the FinTech Association, we are also a not-for-profit body. We started a few months after the Singapore FinTech Association. Our goals are on three fronts. One is advocacy. So we work very closely with regulators on various fronts, including on the crypto and blockchain space. We also bring in various corporates, startups, the universities together on our different committees ranging from blockchain, AI, policy and advocacy, etc. And lastly is education. And so what I want to start off with is, we have four very distinguished gentlemen here on the panel. But I think the conversation is about, we talk a lot about blockchain being decentralized, a lot about community, right? But what I want to ask them firstly is how they see blockchain helping build the community in their own region as such. And we have four I mean, very distinct ecosystems, and they've all done different things. So I'll start with you on talking on Japan and Tokyo.
Okay. Let me invite this channel. So I will try to remind their words. We believe that like blockchain community is a very key point when it comes to making implementation, I guess, in the future. Because in the public sectors, people working at like the government or old-fashioned is not familiar with new technology. But the community is the one way to give us some opportunity to be educated what the project will be solving problem. The government is trying to modernize their own system right now. Japan particularly, we have a lot of issues. Like we are doing like paperwork law, we are doing like multiple operation. It takes a lot of the cost, but against the cost increasing, we have to incentivize the economy or not society who is living in the local market. The blockchain is one of the solutions they believe it to make it go effective, to make more efficient, to bring the goodness to the society. So the things are association has the mission to empower the public sectors, the people who is working in the blockchain world. We try to diversify the community to make an education altogether.
Okay. I totally agree with Kohei. I think the evolution of blockchain, I think, come in two phases. The first phase is really, I would say, B2C applications, your cryptos, for example, your Bitcoin or Ethereum. I love them to see the investment tools. Okay, I think that's how people get interested in crypto in the first place, because the rise in value. But I think for the crypto world to become bigger and to be more encompassing, I think the corporations need to get involved and the government need to get involved. So one of the things that we're trying to do is to kind of be the bridgehead. We want to, one thing about Hong Kong is that we feel that the corporations, the government are kind of behind. They're quite conservative. So I think that we share the same kind of the purpose with the FinTech Association. We really want, with the advocacy, we want to convince that this is a good technology, it solves a lot of problems. I think so. I think it may involve or may not involve ICOs. Okay, I think a lot of good case studies actually doesn't really need ICOs at all. So I think for the community to grow, I think that's one thing we're trying to build is that is to really help the industry to really adopt blockchain. And from that point of view, I think education is a big thing, because nowadays everybody agrees that blockchain is going to change the world. However, I mean there are lack of technical people. So one of the things that we try to do is to do educations. I mean, there are several levels. Some people can become coders, but some people just maybe need to know how to build architecture. I think that's the number one thing that we can do. So at the end of the day, I think education is the key thing.
Okay, for Singapore is a little bit similar with Japan and Hong Kong. Okay, for the Singapore FinTech Association, our interest in blockchain is really the use of blockchain in the financial services,
yeah,
and especially for the financial institutions. And if you look at blockchain use cases, right, all the initial use cases are in financial services. Bitcoin started out as a payment service, right? Then of course now it's more of a store of value, and then you have Ethereum end up become more popular as a form of fundraising. And then of course now we are seeing more and more banks and insurance companies experimenting with blockchain technology. And then of course, like just a few weeks back, Hong Kong MA announced the blockchain trade finance platform, while Singapore experimented with central bank digital currency. And just 3 weeks back, we announced the collaboration with our stock exchange SGX and NASDAQ to tokenize assets. So from the banks and insurance perspective, the community is important to build up what I call the enterprise blockchain community.
Yep.
So that will be a more professional community, and then their needs and wants will be very different. And then obviously we face this challenge of talent. So definitely education is something that's very important. And going back to the more general blockchain side of things, right? What I observe is two distinct phases of development. I think right before mid of last year, right before the boom of ICO, right? It is more of a cyberpunk movement, the community in Singapore at least. Then of course, like
after the popularity of ICO and the prices of ICO start skyrocketing, the community become a lot more diverse. And then, of course, then with diversity, the community becomes more fragmented. And then I think currently in the blockchain community in Singapore is divided into a few tiers. That's my own definition. The tier 1s are the original people who are advocating for the use of blockchain, right? The tier 2 are those who are not real, they came in because of the ICO boom, okay? And of course the third tier are people flying under the radar, so I'm not quite sure are they really trying to be mainstream. And then back to what Koei articulated, like for Japan, right? They are looking at using blockchain to solve society problem, and that is something that I subscribe to, because I feel that while internet bring in the digital economy, blockchain could bring in the token economy, and that token economy could be a lot more expensive and inclusive, right? Because you have fractional ownership of assets. Micropayments become viable because of lower cost. So I think the driving all this from a community perspective is very important, because without the community feeding back and without the participation from the community, all this concept will not be able to materialize. Yeah. Thanks.
Paras, from my India perspective, how do you see it? Because India is such a large country, like very much like China, but they're very diverse states in India. So how does that play out with multiple associations? I mean, Hong Kong itself has about 4 different blockchain-based associations or groups, right, already that I know of, at least. Right?
At least.
At least. So, I mean, India must be tens, if not more than that.
No. So,
yeah.
so I'll tell you, probably, so in India, I guess Bangalore, probably many of the people are knowing it because of the tech city, and they call it Silicon Valley also in India. And probably I'm in the right city as well. So that's why I can definitely give some insights around it. So if I talk about the technology, the regulations part of ICOs happen, and I guess it's not legal again to trade and do stuff within Indian currency, and it's not even clear right now. So people are still doing cryptos, but that too outside, and using the exchanges. The exchanges which were launched in India, they are again used by by the global market. Now talking about the projects, the blockchain projects and all, again like you people said, there's a lack of knowledge. It's because it's a buzz, everybody wants to get into this. And if I talk about the community part of around blockchain, so there are names, good names, big names, but again a purpose is not clear. Okay, I'm just talking from the community sense. The purpose is not clear. So if someone could have tried building a community just around blockchain to educate people, which is the major need right now, and by giving them the exposure of the knowledge which is available globally, I guess it can have better use cases, because if I can name, I know a few of the good blockchain projects from India, which is like Springroll, GovBlocks, Wondex, very very few. So you will not find many of them, though you will find a lot of enthusiasts. You do any conference, you do anything, like I have like the conference which we did, it's called India Blockchain Week, and it happened last year, and we had 170 around people taking part in hackathon, and around 300 people flying from everywhere taking part in the conference. So blockchain is a lot more, as you said, because we are a large populated country, obviously, but people are there enthusiastic about it, but again it's not that supportive by the government as well, and yeah, it's just starting up, I can say, and it can be a good platform or a good country to start. And if you want to pilot anything, I guess Bangalore is the right city also, because it's very adaptive, and people really consider every new thing, and they take part in this. So if any one of you because you all belongs to the associations, and if you want to do anything in India, I guess Bangalore is the right place you can start and do anything around blockchain.
I can validate that. I'm from Bangalore as well. Born and brought up there. and an engineer from the city. Now, I think one of the points I always try to raise or mention when you're talking about blockchain is you have a lot of stigma around the crypto space and ICO space. I think when you're building communities, it's the clarity on what is this community representing, right? So I'm just quickly, and everybody here I'm sure is aware of this, but defining and having a clarity on blockchain is the technology, crypto is an application, and ICOs is a way of fundraising and not the only way of fundraising, right? And that clarity is not necessarily widespread. Many conferences, many places where I speak, in institutions, you have to first start with this as the basic. And then you choose which way you want to build. Now, I think coming to Paras's point, I think must be similar to a various different degree of involvement. I mean, Singapore, Hoklai is with MAS is very active. Project Ubin has been running for at least 3-4 years, if I remember. And I know they've trained people to learn it. So from a government perspective, how are you seeing in your individual regions the differentiation between the blockchain community and how they treat them, and when they look at crypto, are they saying it's all the same? Right? So I'm start with you, and then we can have Kohei and Kyle and Paras talk a little bit more from their regional perspective.
Yeah, I think in any community is very difficult for you to just distinctly having just like a one that focus on technology and one just focus on the application side and one focus on the fundraising side, because the transformative use of blockchain is the combination of all the three, right? The fundraising makes it easier for innovative new technology to receive funding and ability to mature the technology faster, and then usher in the token economy. And then a blockchain without crypto is really like somehow it's like more deficient, because with crypto you are providing that incentive system to encourage the building a community and building up the network effect. And from Singapore's perspective, right, because like I shared earlier, Singapore and Hong Kong top financial center. So last 2-3 years, we all move and become top fintech hub. Then it's very logical for Singapore to then extend to become a financial blockchain center, right? And I shared that many of the initial use cases are in the financial services. So from the perspective, from policy making perspective, right, we need to balance tight regulation while giving room for innovation to happen. Because like I shared that the token economy could be something a lot bigger. And then without the conducive environment, we will not get there. So I think we now reach, because like if you look at it, right, last year Singapore was the world number 3 in terms of number of ICOs raised. That's because like in terms of regulation, I think the government is still quite open, and although a bit cautious. I think from this year onwards, I think there won't be a need for more regulation unless there is some kind of unless the industry starts self-regulating. Because the trend that we are seeing is that for utility token, it is very difficult to prove utility value. So the trend that we are looking at, and from where I'm observing, many people are seriously considering security token. And then of course, once you go into the security token space, the government's position is very clear. The Securities Futures Act apply. So that's the trend moving forward, and I think it's important for the industry to start self-regulating, so that being a new technology, I don't think the government knows as well as the industry what the technology is about, what are the potential benefits and implications. But with a self-regulating industry association, right, this allows for healthier growth for blockchain itself. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that it's happened in Japan. It's just that we have a different discussion, the crypto and blockchain war. Basically, the blockchain is one of the jurisdiction of JFSA, which is the Financial Service Agency. They have several things at the moment. The one is just try to protect the consumer who buy the token or something, because they are very big information symmetry. The site to provide the token has a big information, but buy it, it's very less. This means we are not equal. The JFS is try to give opportunity for people can buy the more safety at this moment. But they have a different structure, which is try to incentivize the market as well. Crypto is the one of the vehicle to go up in the market level, I guess, in the future. But the things we have to do is to try to more larger communication, not just focusing on the financial part, but also like more diversity industry, like supply chain, or like of course the government or healthcare, many things we can imagine. But the discussion right now is stopped at the crypto level. This is a big problem. In order to enlarge the extent of the more diversified communication, all the government ministry have to collaborate together, not just for the financial sectors. The thing the community will be taking charge of these things, try to make a communication smoothly. If diversify the people that come into the one space, making a discussion, not just only the crypto, but how we can use the blockchain technology to make more fluent application in the like the society or many things. So that's why it happens in Japan. Why I'm making a community is to try to get the smooth communication in the one community. People can easy to be assembled here to make a discussion.
Kyle,
Yeah.
from a Hong Kong perspective.
I totally agree that I think initially people knows about blockchain through cryptos. I mean, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Dashcoin, and then through the ICOs. But now, actually, whenever I run an event in Hong Kong, I always tell people that there are two different things: blockchain and cryptos, particularly ICOs. To be honest with you, I think the Singapore route, which is actually kind of more and more regulation, make the tokens become securities. I think it's the right route. Because personally, I look at a lot of ICO projects. I mean, they are VC. It's basically VC raising, instead of raising fund from the traditional VC companies, but they raise it through ICOs. However, the regular investors are not able to do due diligence. Okay, unlike a VC who have the analysts out there to do the diligence, a lot of the investors just based on white paper are not able to make a decision whether they should invest, and so they get burned. And also, I mean, I noticed that in other communities, I read on the Telegram, the moment the ICO is launched, and investors say that why does it go up? I expect it to go 100%, 200%, and then flip it. But then I tell them that this is a VC project. I mean, you're supposed to hold it for 3 years until there's a product. I mean, before the value get realized. So I think there's a lot of mismatch now in the ICO world. People want the companies who want money and do ICO, and then investors who want to flip the coins and then make the quick money. But however, this is not how it works. I mean, it should be. I tell people that you should see ICO as a VC project, which is 3 or 4 years until for fermentations. In fact, I mean, so I think I think the investors nowadays lack the education to really to see the ICO project properly. So I think in terms of regulations, in terms of government stepping, I think it's the right. I personally think it's the right path. And on the second issue is really the difference between blockchain and cryptos / ICO. I think if you look at China. China bans ICOs. Okay, even though it's still one of the top ICO country in the world. However, I mean, the China make it very, very clear. I mean, they don't like ICOs, they don't like cryptos, but they are very friendly to blockchains. So I think the thing that you look at, again, Hong Kong, same thing. The Hong Kong MA runs the trade finance blockchain with 13 banks. No cryptos are involved. This is just a blockchain project. And I think Uber's involved tokens, so that's different. But I think that's kind of the path companies are taking. I mean, there are a lot of good use case of blockchains that doesn't really need tokens, that doesn't need the cryptos involved. And I saw a lot of ICO projects that kind of, because they need to raise money, they deliberately put the ICO in their tokens there. I think it's actually not the best way to do it. So I think actually, if you ask me, I think the market as it goes should be more and more, as become more mature, they should know that they're two different things. And actually, I kind of think that the ICO market, I kind of think that there are more and more projects moving to go back to the traditional VCs, traditional ways of raising money, which I think is a good thing, because I think there are a lot of just hype and investor miseducation, misperception on the ICO market.
Paras, what are you seeing in India from
Yeah,
the
so
government's
I,
perspective?
you know what? Like I used to think that this is just a problem in India, but I guess everyone has said the same thing almost. And like you said, the word community, it becomes more popular just after the buzz of ICO and blockchain again. Like, you know, people started getting hired for community managers to handle online communities, and like, you know, they started without even knowing. So it was just to answer the queries, and they started calling themselves. So again, the biggest, like you said, in the country, you have government at least supporting and like, you know, making things happen, and not supporting ICOs, at least not supporting tokens and cryptos. That has already been done in India. But the other side, which is say, like, you know, government supporting the technology also, that is also not happening on a bigger scale. It's like it's still there and happening in silos. Like, you know, few bodies of government are just helping in like, you know, a few like, you know, because it's a flowing water and we wants to have their hand in it, so that's why they're trying to do it. But it's not there, like, you know, no big support from the government side. There are few banking brands which have got into this, but no big success, and I guess all because of the reason, because nobody is trying to focus on like, you know, building better products using the technology, but they are more focused on raising, or probably doing ICO or raising the money through it, and by just showing the face of community through it, and yeah, so like, so this is, I guess it's the same problem there also.
I guess we're waiting for an initial community offering soon somewhere. But I just want to move ahead in terms of this conversation of, we've spoken about investors, but what you guys are doing, but as when you're building a community, it's a very important thing for you to have a focus area. And I mean by that is, we see a certain time frame in where things are going, and we kind of have a slightly better understanding because we're speaking to a variety of participants to see where things are going. So from your perspective, in the next, I would say a year, I would say 6 months, because I think 6 months too short for building a community in the blockchain space. It can be crypto, it can be ICO, it can be anything, enterprise, whatever. From your region's perspective, what would you say for your association or is the most important focus area for the next 1 year? What are you focusing on in this blockchain/crypto space? Go ahead, we'll start with you.
I think as I mentioned, the diversified is the pretty important things to spread out the blockchain to the market, because it just happens very small community is having a discussion what the blockchain is, what the crypto market is. It's very small compared to the entire market. But if we want to use the blockchain technology, the people like in your daily life, in your like businesses, many times we have to mention about how we can use this technology in the society. This is very important. In order to make sure, try to invite more people outside this market. Like people is just curious of the blockchain, but they didn't know actually it works. We have to invite them to give them a discussion how we can use it in your society, in your business model, in your industry. This is a very precious discussion in next decades. If we look at the short term, maybe the crypto market level has been lucrative, the very partial person, but actually we look at vast society, we have to mention about how we can deploy this technology to the market and how we can contribute it to the society flourish. This is a very key point in next decades.
Thank you. Kyle, from a Hong Kong Blockchain Association's perspective, next 1 year, what are your main focus?
Well, actually, all our founders are from the financial community. All of us are actually work in hedge funds. So I think at the end of the day, especially Hong Kong, I guess in Singapore too, it has to be related to finance. I know that there are other applications, consumer, tourism, but I think in Hong Kong, the only project that I think, especially our audience, my audience, our members, actually a lot of them are from the financial communities. So I think definitely the stock authenticity payment system, the documentation flow, I think those are the applications. Now, of course, related, you have your legal tech and reg tech. Those are also important areas, and there are some good use cases of blockchain. So I think among all those areas, I think that would be our focus.
Okay, yeah, for Singapore FinTech Association, just now I shared that our interest in blockchain is really the use of the financial use cases, so that will continue to be the focus for the next 6 to 12 months. And we are seeing that more and more mainstream institutions are adopting blockchain technology. If you look at the past 4 weeks news, right, it's getting more and more mainstream. So that's the direction to go. But just now I also personally shared that blockchain can go beyond just being used by the financial institutions. The use can be wider, especially when it's coupled with a token. It can really be transforming society. So in fact, recently I just set up a separate association called Token Economy Association that will be one of my key focus for the next 12 months. Not just to drive awareness, but I think the education, the having dialogue, not just within Singapore, but with the regional counterpart will be important, because we have to learn from the various regions and various countries. Like for example, Japan is very advanced in this perspective. They are the very first to legalize Bitcoin, and then of course they also the very first to register crypto exchanges, and they have many experience from being hacked and being tightly regulated. I think we have a lot of things to learn from the countries that are in the forefront. Yeah, so that would be my focus.
From community folks' perspective.
Absolutely. So I cannot talk about any association because I don't belong to any. But
if you had to personally choose something and say, okay, this will be my focus.
Yeah, I can definitely say that because I have met people in conferences and from different projects, and being I'm coming from a developer background, and I feel the next focus, and actually I've been planning and it's already been started. So it's a community of developers, blockchain tech developers, which is, I guess, the important need for every project, for every person, because I guess first of all, devs understand the meaning of community because they live online, and they are the first ones who have introduced this thing. And I guess again, if we make them understand and learn more about it, it will be very easy to spread. So I guess first thing which we are trying to do is to build a community of devs. Okay, that too in India, and for that purpose we gonna without any brand name on it, which uses it to show it to to show it to the investors that they have a community and around the product, around their product. So it's gonna be a open source dev community focused on different blockchains, and the mission is to grow more knowledge about it and build better projects. And even with that same note, I have Naveen here. So Naveen, can you raise your hand? So yeah, so Naveen is gonna take the lead in Hong Kong for the dev part, and the plan is to give a global exposure to both side devs, because that makes a lot of sense for everyone. So I guess this is gonna be the focus for next 6 months probably, and offering to everyone that if there is any project you guys are looking for, and I guess if you are looking for devs, definitely you must be looking for devs. I'll try to solve that problem all together with other enthusiasts. But yeah, you can count on us, definitely.
From a FinTech Association perspective, we came out with one of the first papers on best practices for token sales last year. We're coming in an updated version, and I completely agree with Chia that having self-regulated organizations and having best practices in the industry is the need, because ownership by regulators, especially when you have 3 or 4 regulators in the region, is difficult because they're very, very different elements. So in Singapore's case, MAS takes care of everything: the banking, the securities, the insurance, right? Whereas in Hong Kong, you have 3 different authorities, plus you have the Custom and Excise Department and the police and the data commissioner, who are all having different roles to play in this ecosystem. So we as an association are looking to work with not just local bodies as well as international bodies to come up with frameworks that people who will be involved in the token sales aspect of things can refer to. My last, do we have time for questions? 5 minutes? 3, 4, 5 minutes? Uh,
5 minutes. I'm
fi-
generous.
Yeah, okay. So if you have any questions, we can take that and then we can have just very quick closing remarks. Any questions for any of us? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Serena. I've seen a lot of university labs and blockchain hubs emerge in the recent years. I was just wondering if you personally had any experience with collaboration with universities and particularly, any of the top schools that are working on blockchain labs.
I know one.
If anyone has experience, please. Personal
No
experience.
experience, but I'm in the process of setting up a blockchain innovation center with one of the local polytechnics. Because I think with the onset of the token economy, there will be a serious need of talent in blockchain, I mean tech talent. So, and we have to start now because the token economy could be like 5 to 10 years away. But a lot of the technology has to be start building now. So I think educating and then building a strong local pipeline of talent is important for Singapore. Yeah, so that's why I am working with the Polytechnic to build the blockchain innovation center.
I want to add a few things. Actually, I'm also currently setting up a collaboration with Hong Kong U. I think on the legal applications of blockchain. However, at the same time, a good friend of mine, Lawrence Ma, I did saw him that he recruited a few students from Chinese university and successfully do a startup. So the nice thing about blockchain is so new that everything is new. I mean, there's no experienced person in this area. So maybe two years ahead of me. That's it. I mean, but you're ahead of me by 2 years. So it is a fast-changing field. Also, there's many things going on. I think what the universities and the students needs are real applications. So if we are the seniors, we are the adults. So you tell them that this is what we want to do. I mean, they can learn fast. I mean, they learn much faster than us. So the thing is that I think the nice thing about the collaboration is that we, from the financial background, we know where the problems are, and they have the know-how, and then combine them, it can be really powerful.
So I can tell you two things about it. So yes, there is there are renowned organization institutes in India called IITs. So there is one which has started. They're like best in what, and they're the best colleges in India for tech, I can say. And they have started this. They have established a blockchain lab, absolutely, because that is the right place to train the crowd. And this is what I'm saying. And secondly, the hackathon which we did, it happened recently. There were students from 27 colleges and taking part in that, and taking the same knowledge and experience exposure from that hackathon back to their college and in the ecosystem. But unfortunately, again, as I said, the knowledge of blockchain and importance of it is not that much clear, not on the government level and not on the college and the people those who run those colleges. So that's why they don't understand that much. But yeah, setting up a blockchain lab, and that'll be really beneficial, because that will be a great start for the people.
So we've seen one in Hong Kong with the Polytechnic University as well, setting up a blockchain lab.
Yeah.
And it's where we're seeing when we're interacting with universities is the first step is getting fintech out of the way, right? What I mean by that is doing courses or setups for Hong Kong U, UST, Chinese U have all have specific fintech programs, and now looking to offer degrees as well, either masters or undergrad, which is important. Next stage is the blockchain space, and the talent is going to be a critical element of any developer community, and Hong Kong has not necessarily traditionally been strong on the technology talent, especially on the developer side, but I think there are a lot of them in mainland China, especially Shenzhen, whom there could be a lot of leveraging into.
You can count on me for that also.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring some good devs from India at least.
And the government in Hong Kong has started a technology talent application scheme for 1,000 high caliber technology talent that basically makes it easier for them to get visas to work in Hong Kong. This is beyond quality, man. Anything in
Japan, we have some specific sponsored class. A big company is sponsoring some specific professor who is taking some slots in a week. They give us they invited some speakers invited there and give them a teaching, but it's just many small level and private level. So last time I visited in Singapore, I just talked with the associate professor in US, and we tried to bridge the academic network, not just in the one country, but more multilateral communication. This is pretty important because in Singapore you have some project from like academic project. I think this type of the ecosystem is pretty important. So,
one last question before we can finish.
Hi.
We have one at the back. So. Yeah, you yes.
Actually, it's not a question, it's just a remark. Following up what you just said before, I am actually working at CUHK Faculty of Law.
Oh,
And I'm one of the few people at CUHK Law who tries to understand what the hell is going on. And we actually have the greatest difficulties to get in touch with the fintech community. It's a lot about personal relationships with people, so we try to dig. But most of the time when we send emails to people, we don't have answers. And it's very difficult to get there. So we might want to chat.
So I mean, you send an email to me, it will always be answered, but I'll give you my email address. Yeah. No, definitely I look forward to, from a Hong Kong perspective, I'm sure Kyle and I would love to
I'll
connect
get your
with
card
you
right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
the difficulty of making a bridge between the knowledge and the company side of it, which is what you're saying, but I just want to insist that
I think I agree. It's one of the things which are critical in a lot of technology ecosystems is how universities connect with industries or companies who are developing that space. You can take the example of Stanford and Silicon Valley, for it, right? You know, it's a very strong correlation. Number of Stanford grads who go and set up companies in Silicon Valley, and in India is the IITs who drive technology innovation as such. So completely agree with you, and from our perspectives, I think both of our associations will be keen to connect with you.
there is that, and the other aspect is, well, I'm an academic, but I'm not really academic in the way I see stuff.
Okay.
So I quite like to push it, and in the way I see things, the difficulty is that to make the education move on, the industry has to kick the academics. Because the academics think about what happened yesterday most of the time. They don't like to think about what happens tomorrow because that's too much of the hassle. So unless academics actually hear that there is a need to explore something, and that this topic is actually sexy for them, they won't be digging into it. So that relationship is also a push and pull, but there is a big push on your side.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe I can share the Singapore experience. In fact, that the industry association itself, we actually create our own fintech talent program because, like, especially for new areas like fintech and blockchain, there's not enough lecturers who has the necessary experience and knowledge. So for us is that because as the association, we are in touch with the practitioners. So we got all the practitioners to come and teach. So in our course, right, we involve more than 20 practitioners to teach because many of the fields are evolving. So I think the same should also apply to blockchain because you don't have enough people who already retired and teaching in the universities. So many of these will have to come from the practitioners. So it helps if your country is already a hub whereby you already attracted a lot of blockchain companies doing their projects in the country, and then and I can tell you, nerds, right, techies, right, they like to share and teach, especially for a field like blockchain is very much open source. They would like to contribute. So I think a practitioner approach might be more relevant for emerging fields.
Right. So to close, I think if each of you had to pick 5 years from now, what association will you be a part of? You know, we became fintech to blockchain to token to what do you think in the future, in 5 years' time, if you would think there will be an association that will be driving this, what form might it take? Go ahead, very quickly.
I think everything could be connected in the future, like the technology itself, like from data to data processing. So maybe the blockchain and fintech or AI or something is not separated. It's everything the same. We have to do is to collaborate with something to move forward together.
Kyle?
Yeah, I think it's really the industry buy-in. I think the government did a good job in Hong Kong. They know that this is the future. The academics I think they agree this is the future. I think in Hong Kong, this is still the lack of industry buy-in. The industry need to get more involved and provide more funding, by the way.
Okay, I think for me, I shared many times, right, I see a lot of similarity between the blockchain and internet. The dot-com bubble burst in year 20,000, right? But 10 years later, the technology becomes the effect and the implication and the benefit of the technology from internet-enabled sharing economy, e-commerce, and things like this. I think the same could apply to blockchain. So for me, the token economy association will be an area that I will be spending a lot of effort driving in the next few years.
Cool. And I guess I can say because I'm coming from a community background, I'll say this will go ahead and it's going to be a big revolution, which I believe, because it's decentralizing is a great power. And what I want is, I guess, in India, somehow government supports this, and I'll be among those people, those who are making the change. Cool.
Thank you everyone for listening to our panel. Big round of applause to the speakers.
Thank you.